Something in the Avatar 4 footage made Disney executives reportedly reply with just one word: holy. No notes or changes, just shock. Yeah, whatever James Cameron showed them isn't just another sequel, it's a full-blown escalation. And if the leaks and first look details are even half true, Avatar 4 might completely flip the entire saga on its head. Let's get straight into it. The closing moments of the latest film don't quietly set up the future, they detonate it. Jake Sully doesn't just win a battle, he reclaims his mythic status as the legendary unifier of the Na'vi clans, essentially becoming a living symbol of resistance again. Not a father trying to hide from war, not a refugee, a weapon, and that tells us one terrifying thing: the conflict on Pandora is no longer local, it's existential. This isn't a skirmish anymore, it's extinction-level warfare, and if you thought the villains were done, think again. One of the biggest shockers from the final battle is that the two most dangerous antagonists don't actually die on screen. Colonel Quaritch, yes, still a nightmare, has his most intense confrontation yet with Jake inside a gravity-distorting battlefield. At one point, both enemies stop fighting to save Spider from falling to his death, a rare human moment that hints something deeper is going on inside Quaritch. Jake even offers him a hand, a real chance at redemption. And what does Quaritch do? He lets go. He drops into the inferno below, screaming as he falls. Nobody, and yes, no confirmation, nothing. In blockbuster language, that basically screams, "See you next movie." Given how central he's been since Avatar and his rebirth in Avatar: The Way of Water, it would be shocking if his story ended like that. Equally important is the survival of the Ash clan's ruthless leader, a character defined by fury, survival, and a total rejection of Eywa. Her people were devastated by a volcanic disaster, and instead of turning to Pandora's spiritual network, they turned to fire, war, and raw power. She escapes the final battle, which means Avatar 4 begins with a terrifying possibility: two enemies, both deeply personal, both unfinished. And if they join forces, Pandora might not survive. Smash that like button right now if you're already hyped or slightly terrified about where this is going. All right, now let's talk about the detail that changes the entire structure of the next movie. Next is the massive time jump. This isn't picking up right where things left off. Cameron confirmed the story leaps forward about 8 years. Not 1, not 2, 8. Why? Because the production team filmed multiple movies at once, especially scenes involving the younger cast, to prevent aging inconsistencies. Some parts of Avatar 4 were actually shot years ago alongside earlier installments. Here's how that jump reshapes everything. The Sully kids are no longer kids. The war has been raging for nearly a decade. Pandora itself may be drastically altered. Loak, who carried much of the emotional perspective previously, is now a full young adult, battle-tested and likely hardened. But the biggest narrative shift? The storyteller changes. The fourth film reportedly shifts narration to Kiri, the mysterious child with an unusually deep connection to Eywa. And that choice was planned over a decade ago. Let that sink in. Cameron mapped this narrative arc long before audiences even met her. By the time the time jump settles, Kiri's powers have grown dramatically. Took is now a teenager with real responsibilities. Jake and Neytiri are older leaders, not frontline rebels. This feels less like a continuation and more like a generational handoff. During the final battle, Kiri demonstrates abilities that go far beyond normal Na'vi connection. We're talking commanding wildlife, channeling energy from Pandora itself, overpowering enemies through neural connection, projecting Eywa's presence like a force of nature. She doesn't just communicate with Pandora, she acts like Pandora communicating through her. And if that escalates over 8 years, she might become the single most powerful being on the planet. Not a warrior or a leader, something closer to a living conduit of Eywa. The film is currently slated for December 2029. Yes, that far away. But there's a reason. James Cameron reportedly needs enormous rendering time, millions of hours of visual effects work to achieve what he wants. Considering how revolutionary the underwater tech was in Avatar: The Way of Water, expectations are sky high. And apparently the script itself shocked the studio. And honestly, if there's one director known for pushing deadlines in the name of spectacle, it's Cameron. He doesn't just want bigger, he wants never seen before. Insiders say this installment introduces environments, creatures, and large-scale sequences that make the last film look almost modest by comparison. We're talking about entire ecosystems rendered in microscopic detail, complex emotional performances captured through layers of digital artistry, and action scenes designed to feel physically real, despite being fully computer-generated. Cameron has always treated filmmaking like engineering mixed with storytelling, and he refuses to release anything that doesn't feel like a genuine leap forward. So yeah, the wait is painful, but history suggests it'll probably be worth it. When Cameron turned in the screenplay, executives reportedly responded with a short message expressing total disbelief. There were no revisions and suggestions, just awe. That implies one of two things. The story goes somewhere nobody expected, or it changes the rules of the franchise. And rumors suggest both are true. One of the most intriguing hints is that Neytiri may learn what Earth has become. Not by traveling there, the films remain centered on Pandora, but through memories, testimony, or spiritual connection. And if Earth's ecological collapse is revealed in full, it reframes the entire conflict. Humanity wouldn't just be invaders, they'd be refugees from a dying world. That adds a morally complicated layer the series hasn't fully explored yet. Every Avatar sequel introduces a new environment. This one may introduce several. Concept art and leaks hint at polar regions with Na'vi adapted to extreme cold, possibly with new creatures and survival strategies. Nomadic wind traders, peaceful clans traveling on massive floating creatures, essentially Pandora's version of sky caravans. Harsh desert zones with completely different ecosystems where survival requires mobility and trade. Each new culture expands the sense that Pandora is a full planet, not just one jungle. Working titles have floated around for years, but one rumored official name keeps resurfacing: Avatar, the Seed Bearer. If true, that title alone suggests themes of renewal, legacy, or even the survival of the Na'vi civilization itself. A Seed Bearer could symbolize Kiri, could symbolize the next generation, or could even hint at something biological and world-altering, perhaps Pandora itself planting the seeds of a new future. The name feels intentional, it feels symbolic, and with Cameron, nothing is random. Parts of the film, especially the pre-time jump opening, were shot during earlier production phases. Cameron also completed scripts for multiple sequels in advance, ensuring a cohesive long-term story rather than disconnected chapters. It's a strategy similar to how epic trilogies were planned as a single narrative arc, meaning seeds planted years ago are only now starting to bloom. That level of foresight is rare in blockbuster filmmaking, and it explains why the saga feels layered instead of rushed. Every character beat, every tribal introduction, every villain survival moment, it all feels positioned for something bigger. If you're still watching, you're officially one of the real fans. Comment below. Do you think Quaritch survives? Will Kiri become the central hero of the saga? Or is something even bigger coming? I read a ton of comments. Drop your theory. Despite the franchise's dominance, every installment of Avatar carries enormous expectations, not just financially, but culturally. The future of later sequels depends heavily on continued success, because the entire saga has been designed as one massive, interconnected narrative rather than a series of standalone adventures. But James Cameron has always played the long game, prioritizing world building and technological evolution over quick releases. The original film didn't just break records, it changed cinema's relationship with visual effects and 3D immersion. The sequel proved audiences would return to Pandora after more than a decade away, validating Cameron's patience and ambition. Each entry pushes technical boundaries further, from performance capture to underwater filmmaking innovations. Avatar 4 isn't just another chapter, it's widely seen as the pivot point where the story expands beyond familiar territory into darker themes, new cultures, and possibly a shift in perspective that reframes everything before it. If it delivers on the shock factor insiders are hinting at, it could redefine blockbuster storytelling yet again, proving that spectacle alone isn't the franchise's secret weapon. Emotional stakes and long-term narrative payoff are. All signs point to a story that is larger in timescale, deeper emotionally, more morally complex, less centered on a single hero, and focused on legacy and survival. It's no longer just Jake's journey, it's the future of Pandora. It's about children stepping into myths that their parents created. It's about enemies questioning who they are. It's about whether a planet can survive both invasion and vengeance. And if Kiri truly becomes the spiritual epicenter of the story, we may witness Pandora itself choosing a champion. That's a scale we haven't seen before. Between surviving villains, an 8-year leap, new cultures, escalating powers, and a script that reportedly stunned the studio, Avatar 4 feels less like a sequel and more like a transformation. The children become leaders, the war becomes planetary, and the spiritual core of Pandora may finally take center stage. If Cameron pulls this off, it could redefine the franchise all over again. And that's the part that makes this chapter so dangerous and so exciting. We're no longer just watching a family trying to survive. We're watching the consequences of everything that's happened since the first steps on Pandora back in Avatar. The kids who once hid behind their parents are now old enough to challenge them. Loyalties could shift, even beliefs could fracture. Leadership won't be inherited quietly. It will be earned through loss, sacrifice, and impossible choices. An 8-year time jump also means Pandora itself won't be the same. Ecosystems evolve and alliances change. The balance between Awa and the Na'vi could be tested in ways we haven't seen before. If the previous film expanded the oceans and Avatar, The Way of Water, this one feels poised to expand the soul of the world. And then there's the scale. A planetary war suggests something far bigger than scattered battles. This could be the moment where mythology, science fiction, and raw emotion collide. If the spiritual force of Pandora rises to meet technological escalation, we're not just getting spectacle, we're getting evolution. If you want more leaks and breakdowns as new details drop, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. And tell me, what's your craziest theory for Avatar 4? Because if the first look is this shocking, we're not even ready for what's coming next.